Okay, I've decided I'm going to start cutting up my boat. Now I've got two choices of saw. I can use this, which is a Stihl chainsaw. If I use this, I'm going to be cutting it up into skip size pieces, and that'll be the end of my project, and I should just be cutting my losses. Or I can use this, which is a multi-tool for more precise cutting, which will be used for removing rotting timber. Let's see what I think. Let's see what I choose. Yeah, that's right. I've decided to use my multi-tool. This project is going to be ongoing. I'm going to get this multi-tool. I'm going to cut out all this manky timber around the top. And these two side panels, going to make it all new, I've decided. All the corners and everything. So let's dig on. Just removing where the rotted timber has been fiberglassed to the boat, and I'm actually just cutting off the ear of the fiberglass that's left hanging out the boat. So I'm just going to go all round, working my way around with a multi-tool, cutting this out. Right, on this piece here that's got all the gear shift and throttle cable comes through. I've still got the fittings that fit the cables onto the side of the engine, so they won't go through the holes that's been bored in the wood. So I'm just getting my multi-tool, opening up those two holes into a slot to be able to get those cables out. There you go, knock the camera out with the cables then. But I'm going to pull those cables through, out the way, a little bit more trimming to get this next one out, and then I'm going to start cutting out this panel here. This panel is one of the rear side panels of the actual engine bay. All I'm doing is cutting where the wood is actually fiberglassed to the hull of the boat. I'm trying to take the panel out in one piece because I can use this as a pattern, because obviously it's got the holes in the right place for where cables go through, and there's also a big cutout on it where the steering ram comes through it as well. So I don't want to just kick it out and destroy it. I want to try and cut it out and keep it in one piece so that you can use it as a pattern for the next bit which has to go in. While I was doing this, I had a little bit of a nosy visitor wondering what I was up to, coming in and inspecting the work. This is the starboard side now with all that bit cut out. I'm going to try and replicate this now on the port side, so get all this out now. This bit of a box bit, which I'm trying to get a cable out of now, is a box that sits on top of the panels that go on top of the engine frame, which direct air from those two vents you can see in the stern, top of the stern, down into the engine bay, so that when the engine's running it's sucking air in through those vents. So I'm just getting the cable out. I should keep this box as a pattern. There's the box. If you notice, on the outside of these wooden panels they've got like aluminium runners, and that's so that you have panels that slide down into place around the engine. So if you ever have to work on the engine, there's so many panels that can slide out around the engine. So I'll have to replicate this when I put it all back together. Oh, nearly there. A few little more cuts, a bit stronger wobble, and I've got it out. It's actually still connected to the bit of aluminium that's running underneath my legs. You can see it there on the bottom of the panel. But there you go, it's out, it's free. I'll keep that as a pattern. Carry on cutting out what's left of the fiberglass ear that's poking out of the back of the transom there. For some reason, my saw is starting to not cut very quickly. Well, not as quickly as it was, and I'm starting to get a bit of smoke coming off of it. Yeah, at this point I was getting quite a bit of smoke, so I thought I'd better stop and just check my blade, and I'd found I'd actually worn all the teeth off of it. Ferreted around in my van, I had no more blades, so I had to abandon the cutting out and resort to ripping out. Started pulling on anything that was loose, any redundant wiring, and trying to sort of clear a little bit of an area. It's nothing like having a tidy work area. I must put that in my to-do list. Probably help me no end. But it's just generally shifting stuff out of the way. And then I sort of got hold to the carpet that's on the bottom and just started lifting it all out, tugging it all out. I'm not sure whether to keep this to use as patterns for when I put something else down or what, but here we go, started to rip it all out. I did get hold of the two seats. I tried unscrewing them, but all the screws were rotted, so I literally pulled them out. So the seats were already out, and I'm just going round trying to drag up the carpet that had been stuck down to the floor. I started trying to remove some of these trim panels. These are like a plywood panel cut to shape with like a layer of foam and then a vinyl covering on the outside. This one's rotted in the middle, that's why it's all dropped. But there are a few bolts in the back of it, into the back of the gunnel, which are holding it up on the top, and then there's a few screws in the bottom. A lot of the wood around the screws had all rotted, so it was just a case of finding the bolts and getting them undone, and then undoing the panels and pulling them off. There's a few more trim panels which I'd already removed, and then a bit of carpet on the bottom of the shelf. That's gone now, and it's that's that side. Got a bit more carpet to rip off on the lower shelf. And there's this wooden box that you rest your feet on. Just screws to this panel here, and then that bit of vinyl panel behind it will pull off, and it's basically just clearing out everything out the back. Now it's basically just a case of doing exactly the same to the other side. This little wooden box, they'd use stainless steel screws on one side, and these were just normal steel screws. They're all rotted in now. I'm going to have to get a little angle grinder or something to get that off. So start getting onto these panels. This side seems to be in a bit better condition than the other side, so I can actually unscrew the panel that the vinyl's on, which is doing me a bit of a favour really, because obviously I've got to keep these as whole as possible because they're going to be used as patterns. Okay, so just going around it, finding where the screws are, and believe it or not, they're all actually coming undone. So that's a bit of a first for me. Quite enjoying the fact that something's unscrewing and not having to be broken off or ground off or drilled out. Anyway, the panel's starting to come loose. Again, there's a couple of little bolts in the top at the back here. I'm just gonna sort of crack them out and undo those. And then this panel here, let's move a bit of crap out of the way. This panel here should just start to come away from the side. So at the moment, everything I've been taking off, I've been chucking into the cabin. At the front of me, it's getting a bit full now. But yeah, so there's that panel off. Then there's this maroon or burgundy side panel. These are just two screws on, again, coming off nice and easy. And then there's the same with this top panel again. There's some screws that go into the top of the gunnel behind it. These are actually coming undone. And then this panel here will pull off. There you go, some crab lines. Fancy a bit of crab fishing? There you go, quick tidy up with some panels I'm keeping. Leave those there for now. And bilge fan going back on the shelf. Thank you very much. Okay, and this is as far as I've got today. It's all that deck area there's cleaned out. Well, everything's dragged off of it. All the panels are off now. All ready to start making some new ones, getting it all back together. Then there's just this bit left,